For years, the neighborhood limped along with Xfinity. Speeds that crawled at rush hour, outages at the worst times, bills that seemed to grow without explanation. Residents swapped horror stories in the cul-de-sac, buffering during video calls, kids screaming when their games lagged, entire evenings ruined by spinning wheels on screens. I had lived it all. One night, during a critical work presentation, the connection froze. My boss's face turned into a pixelated mosaic, my voice dropped, and then, silence. When I reconnected 10 minutes later, the meeting had moved on without me. That was the moment I decided, enough. Fiber optic internet was the dream. Fast, reliable, symmetrical speeds. A chance to escape the monopoly. But dreams don't just arrive in WA communities. They have to fight their way past rules, bylaws, and endless. We'll look into it. Early in the year, I began asking questions. When is fiber coming? I emailed the WA. I called city offices. I spoke with neighbors. The answer was always the same shrug. We don't know. Finally, I reached out to Gigapower, a regional provider making headlines for expanding aggressively. Their rep, a cheerful man named Carlos, explained their process: micro-trenching fiber lines into the street and placing small above-ground terminals, what they called flower pots, in the public utility easement, PUE, between every other home. It's clean, it's fast, it's cheaper than traditional trenching, Carlos promised. We've done dozens of neighborhoods already. My heart leapt. But then came the catch. Since your WA owns and maintains the street, we'll need their approval. And some boards get hesitant. I knew what that meant. I brought the idea to my neighbors. Some shrugged, happy with their existing service, unwilling to rock the boat. But many were excited. Parents juggling work from home and remote school. Gamers desperate for stable connections. Retirees tired of paying bloated bills. I knocked on doors, collected opinions, and tallied signatures. By spring, I had half the neighborhood agreeing. Let the fiber come. Armed with that, I went back to the WA. Our board was a mix of personalities. Karen, the president, prided herself on being cautious to a fault. Mike, the treasurer, hated any change that might cost money. Susan, the secretary, was sympathetic but overwhelmed. The property manager, Dana, hovered at the edge, eyes darting like she'd rather be anywhere else. I presented the petition, the signatures, the Gigapower proposal. I explained micro-trenching, showed diagrams of the flower pots, emphasized the benefits: higher property values, better service, freedom from monopoly. The room was quiet when I finished. Karen finally spoke. What about aesthetics? We don't want ugly boxes dotting the neighborhood. Carlos, who had joined the meeting, assured her. They're low profile. About the size of a flower pot, hence the name. Green, they blend with landscaping. Mike frowned. Who maintains them? Gigapower does, Carlos said. At no cost to the WA. Dana scribbled notes, already muttering about lawyers. After an hour of back and forth, the board agreed, reluctantly, to meet with Gigapower formally. It was a small victory, but in WA politics, small victories feel like revolutions. Neighbors congratulated me. You're actually moving the needle, one said. We thought nothing ever changes here. But I knew the battle was only beginning. Weeks later, the meeting took place. Carlos outlined everything again. Micro-trenching in the streets, flower pots, in the easement between every other home. The HOA's main concern wasn't disruption, it was legality. The WA owns and maintains the street, Dana reminded everyone. The PUE is technically designated for utilities, but the question is whether we can authorize this, or whether it requires municipal approval. Our attorney will need to review. Karen nodded firmly. No action until legal signs off. Carlos smiled politely, but I saw the flicker of frustration in his eyes. He'd been here before. After the meeting, neighbors crowded me with questions. When are they starting? Will it cost us extra? Can I be first to sign up? I didn't have answers. All I could say was, the lawyer's reviewing. And that phrase, the lawyer's reviewing, became a curse on everyone's lips. At night, I walked the neighborhood, imagining fiber cables humming beneath the streets, kids streaming movies without stutter, Zoom calls without apology. The flower pots in the easements seemed trivial compared to the freedom they represented. But I also imagined something else. Karen shaking her head, Mike warning of lawsuits, Dana repeating, "We'll see." The dream was within reach, but in Wall land, dreams are always at risk of dying under the weight of caution. And I wasn't about to let that happen, not without a fight. The petition had been signed, the board had met with Gigapower, and on paper, progress looked inevitable. But in Wall land, inevitability is a myth. Until our attorney reviews it, there's nothing more to say, Karen repeated at the next meeting. The phrase hit the room like a brick. Residents leaned back in their folding chairs, groaning. For months, the board had promised to consider fiber. Now the promise had mutated into limbo. Dana, our property manager, added fuel. The attorney is concerned about liability. Since the Wall owns the street, if something goes wrong with the trenching, who pays? If the boxes get damaged, who is responsible? These are complex issues. Carlos, ever patient, tried to reassure. We indemnify the WA. We carry insurance. We've done this in dozens of neighborhoods, HOAs, cities, counties. We handle restoration. We're good neighbors. But the word lawyer was a stop sign no resident could drive past. Weeks passed. Then months. Every newsletter carried the same line, pending legal review. Neighbors started to murmur in the cul-de-sac. They're stalling. Karen doesn't want fiber. Mike's in bed with Xfinity. Conspiracy theories multiplied like weeds. And then the aesthetic argument returned, uglier than ever. One afternoon, I overheard two residents chatting by the mailboxes. Have you seen those boxes? They're hideous. They'll be everywhere, like plastic mushrooms sprouting up. I heard they attract vandals. Kids spray paint them. I heard they lower property values. The flower pots, once a cute name, had become an insult. Flyers even appeared on bulletin boards. Stop the flower pots. Protect our streets, protect our values. I crumpled one in my fist. It was signed, Concerned Homeowners, with no names listed. At the next board meeting, the rumors exploded into reality. Dozens of residents packed the clubhouse, some holding the flyers. Karen opened the floor. A man in the second row shot up instantly. These boxes are an eyesore, he barked. I won't have them littering our neighborhood. A woman added, my cousin lives in Albuquerque. They installed these, and now her house is worth less. Buyers don't want to see junk in the yard. I tried to push back. That's not true. Studies show fiber increases property values. Buyers want fast internet. But Jim, one of the HOA's old guard, shook his head. Not at the cost of ugly streets. We bought here for beauty, not wires and boxes. The crowd applauded. Carlos tried again. He brought photos, neat green cylinders blending into grass, barely noticeable. They're no taller than your knee. Smaller than a mailbox. We place them between every other home, not every home. Most of you won't even have one near your yard. But the seed of fear had been planted. Facts couldn't dig it out. After the meeting, I was cornered by neighbors. Why are you pushing this so hard? One asked suspiciously. What's in it for you? Nothing, I said, stunned. I just want better service. But the distrust was thick. In WA politics, passion always looks like self-interest. The lawyer finally returned her opinion. The letter was long, dense, and cautious. The WA could allow installation but must confirm authority under CC&Rs. Approval should be conditioned on written indemnification by Gigapower. The WA must ensure no interference with existing utilities. Aesthetic standards may be applied, but only if reasonable. Final approval should be voted on by the board, not unilaterally granted. It was, in essence, a green light, but Karen treated it like yellow. We must move carefully, she insisted. We'll draft a memorandum of understanding, consult again, perhaps survey the neighborhood. The room groaned audibly. By now, Xfinity smelled the threat. Glossy mailers landed in every mailbox. Gig speeds are already here. Why risk tearing up your street? They offered loyalty discounts, free streaming packages, and vague promises of upgrades. Some neighbors fell for it. Others scoffed. The divide widened. Walking the neighborhood one evening, I saw two kids kicking a soccer ball dangerously close to the underground cable markers. Their parents chatted nearby, oblivious. I imagined those same kids climbing on a flower pot, knocking it loose, or worse, digging around it. The liability concerns, once abstract, suddenly felt real. But so did the need. Inside my house, my Zoom call froze again. The irony was cruel. At the following board meeting, Karen announced the obvious: we remain undecided. Gigapower has submitted indemnity agreements for review. Until then, no vote will be taken. Groans, boos, angry shouts. Indecision is a decision, someone yelled. We're being strung along. Mike shrugged. Better cautious than sorry. Linda, the only consistently supportive board member, whispered to me, they're going to kill this by delay. Death by lawyer. She was right. That night, lying awake, I stared at my ceiling fan, motionless in the still air. My phone glowed with emails from neighbors, some begging me to push harder, others demanding I back off. I thought about the flower pots, imagined them lining our streets. Small, harmless, gateways to faster life. And then I thought about Karen's face, tight with disapproval, and the attorney's letter, heavy with caution. Fiber wasn't just about cables and speeds anymore. It was about who held power in our neighborhood, residents hungry for change, or a board terrified of it. And the longer we waited, the more that power slipped away. By midsummer, the neighborhood was no longer just debating internet. We were at war with each other. The petitions began. One flyer, taped to mailboxes and slipped under doors, read, "Yes to fiber. Yes to the future. Signed to approve Gigapower." The very next day, another appeared. "Stop the flower pots. Protect our streets and homes." Both petitions gathered dozens of signatures, each side claiming a majority, each side whispering that the other was cheating. It started small. Neighbors refusing to wave at each other during morning walks. Parents steering kids away from the other side. But soon, it boiled over. At the pool, a woman snapped at her neighbor, "Enjoy buffering Netflix? Because that's what you'll get forever." The man shot back, "Enjoy trashing our street with plastic junk." The lifeguard blew his whistle, but the words had already cut deep. When the WA announced an open forum to gather community input, I knew it would be bad. But I underestimated how bad. The clubhouse was standing room only, voices already raised before the meeting began. On one side, residents wore homemade, fiber now, badges. On the other, no flower pots, stickers. It looked less like a condo meeting and more like a campaign rally. Karen opened with her usual calm tone. "We are here to hear opinions. Please keep comments respectful." Respect lasted about 30 seconds. First to speak was Tom, a software engineer and father of 3 gamers. "My kids can't even finish an online class without lag. This is 2025, not 1999. We need fiber, and these boxes are a small price for the future." Cheers from half the room. Then Linda, an older resident with a perfectly manicured lawn, took the microphone. "I didn't buy in this community to look at green plastic tombstones every time I leave my driveway. Property values will tank. I don't care about your video games." Boos and hisses rained down. Karen banged her gavel. "Please, respect." The accusations started flying. "You're just pushing this because you work in tech. You're against it because Xfinity pays you. Gigapower is bribing the board. Xfinity already bribed them years ago." It was chaos. People stood, pointed, shouted across the room. Mike, the treasurer, muttered something about internet not being worth ruining friendships, but nobody heard him over the noise. Dana, the property manager, looked like she wanted to disappear. Carlos from Gigapower had come again, smiling nervously with brochures in hand. "Please, everyone," he tried. "This is infrastructure. It raises property values. It future-proofs your homes." A man from the back shouted, "Future-proof? Or lawsuit-proof for your company?" Another yelled, "What happens when kids knock them over? Do we pay?" Carlos stammered, "We handle repairs. At no cost to you." The shouting drowned him out. I tried to speak, to cut through the noise. "Neighbors, listen. This isn't about flower pots. This is about freedom from a monopoly. Don't let fear hold us back." A woman turned on me. "Freedom? You're just a salesman for Gigapower." My chest tightened. "I'm not paid by anyone. I just want better service." But the suspicion in her eyes told me the damage was done. The meeting spiraled further. Someone slammed a chair. Karen threatened to end the session. Greg, usually quiet, shouted, "This is embarrassing. We're neighbors, not enemies." But embarrassment wasn't enough to stop the anger. When the meeting finally adjourned, people stormed out in clusters, glaring at each other, muttering insults. The war lines were drawn. That night, my inbox exploded. Fiber supporters begged me to keep pushing. "Don't let them win. We're with you." Opponents accused me of corruption. "How much are they paying you? Do you get free internet for life?" Even my kids noticed. At the bus stop, another child whispered, "My mom says your dad wants to ruin our street." I forced a smile, but inside, something cracked. The board met privately afterward. Karen sighed. "This is unsustainable. We can't let meetings become battlegrounds." Mike grumbled, "Then maybe we kill it. No vote, no fiber, no fight." Linda protested. "No. Half the neighborhood wants this. Ignoring them is just as dangerous." Dana whispered, "The lawyer says we can allow it, with indemnification. The risk is manageable." Karen shook her head. "Risk isn't the only factor. Division is too high." I leaned forward. "Division will only get worse if we stall. We need a decision, one way or another." But Karen wasn't ready. "We'll table it again," she decided. Another month. Let tempers cool. Another month. Another stall. Another seed of distrust planted deeper. As summer baked the streets, I walked past empty lawns where the flower pots might have been. I imagined a future where kids streamed movies without lag, where families didn't curse their service. But I also imagined a future where every green box became a symbol of resentment, a reminder of neighbors shouting in the clubhouse. Fiber could connect us, or it could tear us apart. And right now, it was doing the latter. By August, the stalemate had hardened into something uglier. The WA stalled, the lawyer stalled, Karen stalled. But the world outside didn't wait. One sweltering afternoon, a letter arrived. Not from the WA, not from Gigapower's local rep. From the City of Albuquerque Utilities Department. It announced a scheduled hearing to review Gigapower's application for permits to run fiber lines through municipal rights of way adjacent to our neighborhood. Neighbors buzzed instantly. Wait, they're bypassing the WA? Can they even do that? Doesn't the WA own the streets? It was complicated. The WA did own and maintain our internal streets. But the entrances, connections, and some easements fell under city jurisdiction. Gigapower had found a crack in the wall and shoved a crowbar in. At the next board meeting, the news detonated like a bomb. Karen's voice shook with fury. They went around us. Around this board. That's unacceptable. Linda countered calmly. Unacceptable, or inevitable? You've dragged your feet. Of course they looked elsewhere. Mike rubbed his temples. If the city approves, we're trapped. We can't stop them. The clubhouse erupted with cheers from fiber supporters and groans from the "no flower pots" camp. For the first time, the HOA's power looked fragile. Outside the official meetings, tensions boiled over. One morning, I saw a neighbor, Tom, the software engineer, spray painting crude "Fiber Now" slogans on cardboard signs and planting them in his yard. A day later, his sign disappeared, tossed into the trash by someone anonymous. In retaliation, another neighbor staked a banner. "Keep our streets clean, no boxes." It felt like a political campaign, yard by yard. Gigapower, emboldened by the city permit application, leaned in harder. Carlos started canvassing homes directly, offering early sign-up discounts. He handed out brochures that featured glowing testimonials. "Fiber raised my home value by 10%. Opponents accused him of harassment. They called the property manager, demanding he be banned from the neighborhood. Dana, nervous, emailed everyone. "Please refrain from direct solicitation until the board makes a decision." Carlos ignored it. Residents invited him in through back doors, signed pre-commitment forms, whispered about rebellion. Then came the trench. It wasn't official. It wasn't even legal. But one Saturday morning, a group of neighbors rented equipment, a narrow trencher from a hardware store. I woke to the rumble of machinery. Outside, Tom and 3 others were cutting a shallow line along the edge of the street, laughing, sweating, moving fast. "Are you insane?" I shouted. Tom grinned. "If the board won't approve it, we'll do it ourselves. It's our street too." Within an hour, Karen was on the scene, phone in hand, screaming that she was calling the police. By the time officers arrived, the trench was 20 yards long. The cops didn't arrest anyone. They shook their heads, told the group to stop, warned of liability. But the damage was symbolic. The first trench had been dug, literally and figuratively. The WA fined Tom and the others for destruction of common property. They refused to pay, calling it civil disobedience. That week, the community email chain exploded. Heroes, criminals, pioneers, saboteurs. The trench remained, half-filled, an ugly scar visible every time you drove in. Meanwhile, the city held its hearing. I attended, along with half a dozen neighbors. The room was sterile, filled with bureaucrats and engineers. Carlos presented slides showing the benefits of fiber, emphasizing micro-trenching efficiency. Karen stood at the podium, voice icy. "The WA owns its streets. We are the governing body. Gigapower cannot trespass. We will sue if necessary." The city attorney frowned. Within your private streets, perhaps. But in connecting rights of way and place under city jurisdiction, you have no authority. Whispers rippled through the room. Karen flushed red. For once, she had no gavel to bang, no lawyer to stall. Back in the neighborhood, the hearing became legend. Supporters celebrated. The city is on our side. Opponents seethed. They'll destroy everything. Xfinity joined the fray, sending sales reps door to door with clipboards. They offered 2 years of discounted service, free streaming boxes, even gift cards. Some residents signed, clinging to the familiar. Others mocked them, waving their "Fiber Now" forms in their faces. At the next board meeting, the chaos peaked. The clubhouse overflowed. Supporters wore shirts with "Gigapower" scrawled across them. Opponents carried photos of unsightly boxes from other towns. When Karen declared the board would not approve installation on Wall Streets until all legal avenues were exhausted, the crowd erupted. "Then we'll go to court," shouted Tom. "Then we'll vote you out," screamed another. "Try it," Karen snapped, eyes blazing. Mike slumped in his chair. Linda shook her head sadly. Dana typed furiously, as if the minutes could contain the firestorm. The meeting ended in shouting, neighbors hurling accusations, Carlos slipping quietly out the back. That night, walking past the half-filled trench, I realized the truth. This wasn't just about internet anymore. It was about who controlled our future, our neighbors, our board, or forces bigger than both. And no matter how the cables were laid, the cracks in our community were already too deep to fill. The trench may have been filled, but the scar it left ran through the community. Both sides claimed victory. Supporters bragged they had forced action. Opponents sneered that the amateurs had embarrassed themselves. But beneath the gossip, a deeper battle was brewing. It began with letters. Thick envelopes from the HOA's attorney landed in the mailboxes of Tom and the trench diggers. Each contained formal violation notices and threats of escalating fines if the destruction of common property wasn't remedied and restitution wasn't paid. Tom laughed when he read his. "Let them sue me," he said. "I'll counter-sue for monopolistic collusion." But others weren't laughing. One trench digger quietly pulled me aside. "I can't afford this. If they push it, I'll fold." I never thought it would go this far. The next blow came from Xfinity. A glossy packet arrived on every doorstep. Important notice. Unauthorized activity in your community. It warned that reckless installation could damage existing utilities, putting lives at risk. It implied lawsuits. It hinted that property values were at stake. The kicker was the fine print. Xfinity is committed to protecting homeowners. Sign up now for a guaranteed 3-year price lock. Some neighbors sighed with relief and signed. Others cursed, waving the mailers in disgust. Meanwhile, whispers of recall circulated. "Karen has to go. Mike too, he's useless. Let's call a special election." Supporters of fiber gathered signatures, talking openly about ousting half the board. For the first time, Karen looked nervous in meetings, though she masked it with her usual icy tone. Linda, the lone consistent supporter, pulled me aside after one tense session. "They're losing control. And when control slips, people lash out. Be ready." She was right. The lawyer's presence grew. She now attended every meeting, glaring over stacks of papers. "Any unauthorized work will be prosecuted," she intoned. "The board must protect its assets. Liability cannot be risked." Her words were daggers. Supporters jeered. Opponents nodded grimly. But the WA budget trembled. Legal fees mounted. Rumors spread that dues would rise. Suddenly, even the opponents began grumbling. All this money? Just to block boxes? Then came Gigapower's counterattack. Carlos returned, but not alone. This time, he brought his boss, a tall, sharp-suited executive named Valerie. She didn't smile. She didn't hand out brochures. She stood at the front of the clubhouse and delivered a sermon. "We are not here to beg. We are here to offer. Gigapower will invest in your neighborhood, tens of thousands of dollars at no cost to you. Property values will rise. Options will multiply. This is progress." She paused, letting the silence grow heavy. "But let me be clear. If you refuse, we will build around you. Adjacent neighborhoods will get fiber. Buyers will compare. And when they ask why your homes lag behind, the answer will be, your WA chose stagnation." The words hit like a thunderclap. Supporters erupted in cheers. Opponents hissed. But no one denied the threat. Karen tried to retort. "This board will not be bullied." Valerie smiled coldly. "Bullying? No. Market forces. Progress will not wait." She dropped a folder on the table. A final offer. Gigapower would assume full liability for installation. The company would indemnify the WA against all claims. Restoration costs would be guaranteed. Aesthetic standards could be negotiated. But the catch? The board must vote within 30 days. No more stalling. No more endless, pending legal review. After the meeting, the neighborhood was electric. "Did you hear her? They'll build around us. Good. Let them go. We'll be a digital island. Better an island than a junkyard." The divide deepened, but urgency replaced the slow burn of delay. Time was now a ticking clock. In the weeks that followed, every interaction was poisoned by fiber. At the grocery store, two neighbors shouted over avocados. "You're dooming us to 20th century internet. You're dooming us to ugly streets." On the Nextdoor app, threads spiraled into hundreds of comments, accusations flying, corruption, kickbacks, lies. Screenshots circulated like evidence in a trial. Even children weren't immune. At the school bus stop, my son told me, "Ethan said we're traitors because you want the boxes." I clenched my jaw, unsure whether to laugh or cry. As the 30-day deadline loomed, the board grew frantic. Karen doubled down, insisting on another attorney opinion. Mike worried about dues increases. Dana begged for calm. Linda pushed for a vote, her patience gone. "You can't stall forever," she told Karen. "And if you try, the recall will succeed." Karen's glare could have cut glass. The night before the scheduled vote, flyers appeared on every door, bold red letters screaming, "WA selling US out. Say no to fiber." And right beside them, stapled over in blue ink, "WA holding US hostage. Vote yes to fiber." 2 messages, 1 hallway. Neighbors tearing each other's signs down before dawn. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. I thought of the trench, the shouting, the suspicion. I thought of Valerie's ultimatum, Carlos's optimism, Karen's stubbornness. And I realized, tomorrow, no matter which way the vote went, something irreversible would break. The cables might come, or they might not. But the fractures in our neighborhood would never fully heal. The night of the vote, the clubhouse felt like a courtroom. Folding chairs stretched wall to wall, every seat filled, neighbors lining the walls, arms crossed, jaws tight. No one was neutral anymore. On one side, supporters of fiber wore pins they'd printed on home inkjets. Fiber equals future. On the other, opponents clutched flyers reading, "No flower pots." Even the air felt split, half electric, half suffocating. Karen opened the meeting with her usual clipped tone. "We are here to consider Gigapower's proposal. This board will vote tonight. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. After months of delays, it was finally happening. First came statements. Linda stood first, her voice clear. We need this. It's not just about faster internet. It's about property values, competitiveness, and quality of life. We cannot trap ourselves in the past because of fear. Applause thundered. Then Jim, the loudest opponent, rose from the crowd. Fear? No. Responsibility. Those boxes are permanent scars. Once they're in forever. When the lawsuits come, when the vandalism comes, when our streets crack from trenching, you'll all regret it. The cheers matched the boos. Gigapower's executive Valerie was present, arms crossed, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. When her turn came, she didn't sugarcoat. Our offer stands. Liability rests with us. Indemnification is guaranteed. If you decline, we will root around you. And when buyers ask why every other neighborhood has fiber but yours, the answer will be, your WA said no. Her words landed like thunder. Karen's face tightened, but she held her ground. Thank you. We will now deliberate. The board huddled at the table. 5 members, 5 lives twisted into this battle. Karen whispered furiously, we can't cave. It sets a precedent. Mike rubbed his temples. The lawyer says it's safe. But the community's split. Either way, we lose. Linda snapped, we lose more by refusing. Look around. Half the room already despises us. Dana, the property manager, muttered, legal costs are bleeding us dry. I don't care what you pick, just pick. Silence fell. All eyes turned to me. I swallowed. We can't govern by fear. Vote yes. Then enforce aesthetics, inspections, whatever it takes. But don't bury the future because we're scared. The gavel came down. We will vote, Karen announced. Hands raised. Linda. Yes. Mike. Yes. Me. Yes. Karen. No. One other. No. 3-2. Motion carried. The room exploded, half cheering, half screaming. Opponents stormed out, some shouting threats of recall. Supporters hugged, crying in relief. Valerie nodded curtly, already texting her team. Karen sat stiff, face pale, eyes cold. She didn't congratulate, didn't concede. She simply whispered, this isn't over. And I believed her. The weeks that followed were chaos. Gigapower trucks arrived, paint spraying utility marks across the asphalt. Residents posted photos online. Neon streaks on their perfect streets, warnings of doom. Supporters cheered the progress. Finally, real internet. Opponents seethed. Graffiti. Desecration. When the first flower pot appeared, a neat green cylinder, hardly larger than a mailbox. Someone spray painted it overnight. No. Gigapower replaced it within 48 hours. The cycle began. The WA email list turned toxic. Your vote destroyed our community. Thank you for standing up for us. You sold out to corporations. You saved us from monopoly. Every message was a blade. Every sentence reopened wounds. By the time the first homes lit up with blazing fiber speeds, the neighborhood was unrecognizable. Some celebrated with streaming parties, showing off flawless 4K. Others closed blinds, refusing to speak to traitors. Property values did rise, but so did bitterness. Realtors called the fiber a selling point. Opponents called it the HOA's betrayal. The cables connected homes, but they disconnected hearts. One evening, I walked past the half-healed trench. Kids rode scooters over it, oblivious to the battle it symbolized. I looked at the neat green flower pot, standing in the grass, humming silently with light-speed data. Was it victory? Or ruin? Neighbors waved, Some warmly, some with scowls. I waved back, weary. Fiber had arrived, but unity had left. And as I stood under the desert sky, I realized the cruelest irony of all. We had fought for connection, and lost it where it mattered most.
Thanks for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable HOA stories. Have you ever dealt with something this absurd in your own neighborhood? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. And as always, stay tuned for the next episode.